Alex over at Boost Controlled Performance. Today we have a pretty cool feature car. We've got a 2018 STI with a STI 900 package. Maybe the most interesting part about this whole package, at least that I want to talk about today in this video, is the fact that we have an M150 MoTeC ECU on the car. Now, many of you have seen our other packages, our STI 400 and our STI 450 and our STI 500 packages, and those typically use the stock ECU because we feel like the stock ECU is capable of doing what we need it to do at those power levels. But when we start to get into the much more elevated power levels, especially on a small engine like this, having a proper standalone motorsport ECU on the car pretty much guarantees that we are giving it our best effort that we can to make sure that it runs the best that it can and make sure that it lives as long as it can. So the ECU kind of does two things. It gives us more control variables over making it run better, but it also makes sure that we can keep an eye on critical components. So for example, this car does have one of our custom wiring harnesses on them, and we have features on it like monitoring coolant pressure. So if you're concerned about lifting a head or blowing a head gasket, this car will actually shut the power down and set a very low rev limit if it senses the coolant pressure going up. So that's protection against blowing a head gasket. This harness also features an oil pressure sensor. So if your oil pressure is starting to get lower than we'd like to see, maybe the engine is tired or maybe you have a very early sign of a bearing failure, we can catch that before it becomes a real problem. And we do that through the safety features on this M150 ECU. Another nice safety feature that we have is much better knock control than what the factory ECU has. As you guys know, the stock ECU can do a fuel pressure safety. This ECU does offer that as well. But when you combine all those things together, I'd like to think that this is a much more viable option for somebody who's kind of shooting for the moon, for lack of a better term, on their little 2.5 liter. I'll tell you a little bit about this car. It does have an IAG long block in it. It has CNC heads. It has some pretty large camshafts in it. It has an ETS rotated turbo kit with a brand new, the latest and greatest, if you will, Garrett G Series turbo. It has a G35 1050 turbocharger, which is just phenomenal. In terms of spool time and the amount of power it offers, it's almost unbelievable how good it really is. And this turbo is really incredible because it offers over 900 wheel horsepower worth of airflow, and we're seeing on this car 700 foot-pounds of torque by about 5,200 RPM. By today's standards, that's pretty impressive. So this setup, we think all really came together really well. I wanted to show you guys a dyno pole, and then I also wanted to show you some of the custom features that this ECU has. The first thing that we'll do here is I want to talk about the boost select switch. So if you look up at the dash here, if you zoom up, as you guys know, on a stock car, we have the SI drive modes. I, intelligent, is usually the most mild map, sport is usually somewhere in the middle, and sport sharp is usually the most aggressive. So right now I'm using that factory switch, and through the MoTeC ECU we can retain those factory boost changing capabilities. In this case, I mode on this car is good for 500 wheel horsepower, S mode is good for 650, and S sharp is good for 880 wheel horsepower, which is it's a pretty big spread. Some people prefer a big spread across those maps. We can set it up any way you want. We can have it set up 6, 7, 8. We can have it set up 7, 750, and 8. It's totally customizable, and we can set that up however you like. Okay, so now that we've seen how to adjust the boost settings, let's go ahead and do a high boost pull on the dyno so you guys can see what this thing sounds like from inside the car. All right, we'll launch her in 3, So while we've got the car rolling, I want to show you guys another feature. One of the things that many of you have heard of maybe on the GTRs is the rolling anti-lag. It's very popular on the GTR because we can do that with a stock ECU. But when we put an M150 on the STI, we can actually do rolling anti-lag, which is really cool for a roll race. I want to show you guys how to do that. Now, keep in mind, we need to operate within the turbo's usable range to use rolling anti-lag. It's not a magic trick, so we have to be somewhere where the turbo can spool up. In this case, we're going to activate rolling anti-lag right around 4,500 RPM, and then we're going to go ahead and see how much boost it makes and show you guys how well it takes off. So I'm going to start out third gear here. To activate the rolling anti-lag, I'm simply going to use the cruise cancel switch. Now you need to make sure that your cruise function is off. If you look up here on the dash and you zoom in a little bit, the cruise indicator, see it turning on and off right there? We want to make sure that the cruise indicator is off, because otherwise it'll think that we're actually trying to use cruise control. So now that it's off, I'm going to get it up to the speed that I want to go from. In this case, like I said, it's about 4,500 RPM. Once I get to my target RPM, I'm going to press and hold to cancel, and I'm going to floor the gas pedal. As soon as I hear the turbo spool, I'm going to release the cancel button, and we will have instantly made 16 pounds of boost to take off. So the last function that I wanted to explain to you guys is a pretty simple one. The stock cars do have it, but they don't compare to how well the MoTeC works. It's launch control. So it's completely customizable. We can really set it up however you like, but it's kind of like rolling anti-lag. We want to set it to an RPM where the turbo will be able to spool, but this does use an ignition cut. So it allows us to make a lot of boost while sitting still. It's very simple. It's based off of vehicle speed. If I want to use launch control on this car, if I'm actually going to launch it at a drag strip, obviously I'm going to put it into first gear before I launch it. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to leave it in neutral and just show you guys and let you hear it. But essentially it just senses when you're at full throttle, and then it sets the launch control up as long as you're below a certain speed. So in this case, we have this car set at about 5,600 RPM. So I'm going to go ahead and activate that right now so you can see it in action. And if you get a shot of the boost up here, you can see how quickly it builds boost while on launch control. That's pretty sick. So that about wraps up the MoTeC features that we have on this car. I just really wanted to show you guys maybe some of the reasons why we recommend putting the MoTeC on the car. We do have a full plug-and-play system that includes our custom wiring harness and all the sensors. As of right now, we're only installing them in-house, but in the future we may be releasing it to the general public. But if you're serious about making power with your STI, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can definitely get you set up with a badass package like this. You know, we're just under 900 wheel horsepower on this. This will be an amazing 9-second 4-door stick-shifted car for the owner. I think he's going to be really happy with it. And whether you're from the Metro Detroit area or maybe you're not, you know, we can always get that car shipped in as well. We've been working on these cars for the better part of 10 years now, and we want nothing more than to make sure that we offer exceptional service and exceptional performance on the builds. If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And, you know, give us a like and subscribe if you felt that this video was helpful. We do have some contact info in the description and a little more details about the car. And we look forward to hearing from you guys. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. When I get over these bumps. bumps here, and then I'll do a little rolling boost. I've got it in sport mode right now, which is a middle of the road map setting. Makes about 670 wheel horsepower, if I remember correctly. So to use that rolling boost function, first you want to make sure a tow truck pulls out in front of you. I'm going to put it in second gear. I'm going to get it to the RPM I want to go from, and then I'm going to press and hold the cancel to build boost. When I'm ready to go, I'm going to release cancel and keep my foot to the floor. It feels almost faster than your car, maybe because it's unexpected.